If you're looking to find a particular element in Pokemon that has severely struggled over the years, I would say it's the TCG video games. For a franchise that dominates the merchandise market, sells well in its main series titles, and is effectively a money printing machine, it has often struggled to offer fans a good video game in relation to trading cards. This is despite dwarfing a lot of card games in terms of total cards sold, and having a pretty thriving market on the YouTube scene just for watching the pack openings alone. There's quite a few reasons for this. First and foremost, the competitors in its field have set a much better precedent, with Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially doing incredibly well with both Duel Links and Master Duel. I would say for the most part they're very well done and executed. That's not to say they don't have problems, but they cover two different elements. One is a much more simpler way to play the card game, and the other is a good way to play the standard card game. To be fair, the entire base of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is cards, and it's had years and years of history of multiple successful video games that have captured the fan base in multiple different ways. These include things like Forbidden Memories, Duelist of the Roses, and the Tag Force series. But that doesn't excuse the fact that Pokemon's sheer lack of options for a game in the TCG field that allows fans to interact with the card game in a casual manner has been severely lacking over the years. This is even more egregious when you look at not only the popularity of the competitive scene, as well as any pack opening on YouTube, but some cards can cost you a small fortune to obtain. Just look at that Umbreon card alone in 2024. Now, that's not to say that Pokemon hasn't tried to make their own card game in the past, and they haven't made it a successful one either. Pokemon the TCG card game on Game Boy Color was a great tool for learning how to play the game competitively, capturing the TCG in its very infancy. We had a lot less cards at our disposal due to the game being so young at the time. It was to the point where we even had less prize cards in order to win a game. There was a follow-up sequel to this game that added the Team Rocket set, but it was never released outside of Japan. And Pokemon didn't take a major step towards releasing a TCG card game until TCG Online came around on the web browser in 2011, and was eventually converted into an app in 2012. When you consider some of the sets released alone between the TCG Rocket game and the TCG Online's release date, it's pretty crazy considering its popularity. Now, this was Pokemon's main dive into an online-based game for its TCG. It was generally well received for the most part, with a simple to use interface that updated regularly enough, which made fans pretty baffled when it was replaced in 2021 with a new app that's set up to overhaul the experience, with the aim to make a much better game, and it was actually worse than the game it took over. Pokemon TCG Live was a pretty contentious release for the TCG fanbase, with a lot of people, including myself, finding it inferior to its predecessor. The very lifeless UI, as well as the very limited update schedule, meant TCG Live looked inferior to not only the competitive games within its field, but the very game that it also took over. All these issues have led us here today to the release of Pokemon TCG Pocket, which is a new way to play the Pokemon TCG game, providing an additional option in order to play at home other than TCG Live. Now, TCG Pocket featured the involvement of Creatures Inc., the company directly responsible for licensing the Pokemon trading cards. I'll try to break it down quite quick because it can get quite complicated, but there's a major distinction in how the Pokemon teams are made up. For the purpose of the trading card games, TCG Live was developed by Pokemon Company International, which is a subsidiary of Pokemon Company, which is a joint venture of Nintendo, Game Freak and Creatures Inc. Whilst Creatures Inc. in particular is directly involved in the day-to-day working of the trading card game. That might sound minimal because they're all under the same umbrella, but this essentially meant whilst all technically working under the same umbrella and goal, TCG Pocket was Creatures Inc.'s baby, and joined forces with the creators of Pokemon Masters EX, whilst Pokemon Company International are a separate team not involved in the day-to-day workings of the Pokemon trading cards. The team that was involved in the development of the game were also the people working on the design and its aspects, which definitely improved the hype for it. The game got 6 million pre-registers, which is a lot of people, to the point where some people were cheating the system to get the game earlier, which funny enough they actually acknowledged happens. This falls in line with what people were doing during Pokemon Go, because when the hysteria hit the market, everybody was doing the same thing then. Now, 6 million compared to the Pokemon Go days may not seem a lot, considering that game now has over 1 billion downloads in its lifetime since 2016, but it's an indication there's a market for this game. Pokemon trading cards are a massive seller. In total, over 64.8 billion individual cards have been sold in various different packs, boxes and options that encourage players to take a chance in order to get a rare card. From the trailer up until its release, there was a clear indication one of the major focuses for TCG Pocket is the packs and the pack animations. As I've already touched upon, pack openings are big in the community. All you have to do is search on YouTube and look at those numbers, and that alone is an indication of how well liked it is within the Pokemon community. There is an issue with this, however. To put it in short terms, it's expensive. Granted, most things are nowadays, and to open packs regularly, you could be spending a lot of money in order to do so. Therefore, a free-to-play option that you can do in your own time is a pretty good alternative. Now, you might be thinking, but wait, there's already an app to do that, right? Yeah, well, we'll get to that, bear with me. The focus on the pack openings and the animations makes the cards have a bit more life to them. It makes it more exciting to open a pack. Packs are in 5s, which is half the standard in real life, but they feel very interactive and bright. You are allowed a free pack every 12 hours, however you can shorten this time to 0 with the correct amount of points. Points that are earned via completing objectives. These objectives are milestone based and there are also daily objectives as well. There's a wide variety of different methods in terms of opening and earning different cards, including Wonder Picks, which is a fun way to try and obtain cards by getting a 1 in 5 chance of selecting one from someone else's packs. You get to see the pack beforehand, and if there's a rare card in there, the amount that it costs is more expensive because it wasn't just going to be easy, was it? You can use pack point exchange in order to get cards. Of course, the more expensive ones are quite high value. You earn pack points by simply opening packs, though it can go quite slow. There will eventually even be an option to trade cards, though that is still locked away. Probably to be brought in a future update. So that's the collecting side of the TCG Pocket experience, but there also exists the ability to battle as well. The experience is a much more simplified version of the trading card game. Instead of having prize cards of 6, it's instead first to 3, with the EX's knockouts being counted as 2 as well. And probably the biggest change being no energy cards. Instead, energy is just generated every turn. These changes make battles much quicker, especially considering we also have much smaller decks to use. It's not the general Pokemon TCG experience in that regard, but it's definitely a move to a more quicker, accessible version of it. It's only right to compare it to Duel Links, which was also a simpler version of the main series of Yu-Gi-Oh! And had additional features like character powers in order to provide a different experience. It does remain to be seen how much TCG Pocket is going to be updated, but these simple features are great and show a lot of promise. The potential to open packs every day, even more so if you've got the premium pass, though like me, make sure to cancel your 2-week free subscription. If you started on launch day, your free pass will expire at the same time as me. I need to remember to turn that off. Naturally, TCG Pocket will get compared to TCG Live, as they're the main 2 products available right now on the free-to-play method for fans, and rightfully so. In fact, I've already done a comparing video where I discuss what Pokemon TCG Live could potentially learn. But now that the game's out, one of the clearest distinctions for me is how they approach the excitement and appeal of a pack opening and the card importance. In TCG Pocket, opening packs feels like an event in itself, a fun, visually engaging process that makes every card reveal more meaningful. TCG Live, by contrast, often feels static and very lifeless in comparison, missing the thrill that comes with discovering new cards. In TCG Pocket, careful design details make the screens feel visually dynamic, enhancing the excitement of each card draw as if it has a significance even within the digital space. There's even options to display your cards, where you can display your favourite collections or your favourite particular card, and it allows other people to upvote it as well. It positions TCG Pocket not just as a digital TCG platform, but as an interesting game in its own right, where the process of collecting has inherent rewards and engagement. TCG Live in its simplicity misses out on this layer, making it feel like a straightforward platform for online play, but unfortunately lacking the spark that makes collecting cards fun. When it comes to gameplay, TCG Pocket embraced a fast, simplified approach, akin to what Duel Links did for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, in contrast to TCG Live, which plays the role of the Master Duel experience with a faithful transition to the full TCG rules. Pocket is ideal for players looking for a quick, accessible entry into the game, offering shorter matches with streamlined mechanics. It distills the core excitement of battling without requiring full knowledge of any intricate rule. While TCG Live offers the full TCG experience, it can feel lengthy and technical and almost devoid of life sometimes, which might deter casual players or those who are new to the game. Pocket, in its simplified, fast-paced gameplay, looks like an inviting alternative, appealing to a broader audience and capturing the fun of quick duels without without the time commitment or complexity. However, for me, the biggest distinction between the two is the daily content that TCG Pocket seems to encourage, with more pack openings and more engagement compared to the TCG Live. See, I come from the FIFA Ultimate Team, NBA My Team era of daily content that keeps the engagement and entertainment there. Daily content on a game mode is key to keeping players interested in the long term. If it feels like there's not enough, then players will naturally lose interest. This has happened often with TCG Live, unfortunately. I love the Pokemon trading cards, I find it fun and enjoyable, so I go through phases of replaying TCG Live just to play the card game to a degree. Whilst Pocket has only just started up, a daily pack you can open is significantly more than what Live was offering in that regard. Live offers a reward based on battling, but not just a standard login bonus. As somebody who's more involved in the casual side of the TCG, and trust me, I'd love to play it competitively, but I have a major issue in time, and it's something that severely affected my ability to collect some cards that I want as well. Then again, I have not helped myself by trying to master 151, because it's going swimmingly right now. Sure, there's an ability to unlock packs just by playing some competitive games in Live, but there's not an open up the app and get something free option, which is definitely content that appeals much more to a casual player. What the future holds for TCG Live, I honestly do not know anymore. I think one of the major issues it's going to have is it now has a competitor in the TCG Pokemon field. Sure, Pocket's simplified competitively, but on an initial look it looks like it's going to offer a bit more than Live does, and that makes me a bit concerned for it, unfortunately. I'm hoping that game improves and we see the positive elements from Pocket initially being added to TCG Live in order to make the game better. It is important to note that this game is currently in its infancy. On an initial look, Pocket definitely has some positive aspects that are potentially something to look forward to for the fanbase. One of the biggest issues that I think it tackles is giving us a fun free-to-play option to open packs on the go. I'm a big fan of opening packs and engaging with the community, but as I've already said, let's be honest, it's expensive. You have to get lucky in an Elite Trainer box to pack a Charizard card in 151, because if you don't, when it comes to individually buying that card, it can be extortionate, which is definitely a frustrating part of this interest. Sure, you want to master that set, but you require 6 cards, and the 6 cards in total will cost you £400. You can actually go on a decent holidays for a few days for that, and I'm not kidding, I decided to shop around just to see what I could get, and there were some pretty good places I could go actually. It's okay to point out that while it's a fun hobby, it's also an expensive one as well, and having an alternate method to engage with that hobby allows you to still have fun with the interest but not spend a mass amount of money either. Trust me, I'd love to be able to be in the point where I could spend hundreds and thousands of pounds to do pack openings for everybody, but unfortunately I'm unable to do so. But TCG Pocket looks like it might help me bridge that gap a little, to engage with the collecting and opening packs without the expensive costly interest has sometimes. Sure, Live already existed, but card collecting and opening packs felt lifeless. Or like it didn't even add any importance to the actions. At a minimum, with the work put in for the graphics when opening packs and even the card displaying, it feels more important throughout Pocket. Now, in terms of playing competitively, it's nowhere near as expensive. If you look at the deck that won the World Championship in 2024, the price to buy the base cards in that set without having special illustration rares is a relatively good price compared to outright buying one Umbreon card. I'm being serious, by the way, it's a great card and Umbreon's my favourite evolution, but why is it that price? The issue with competitive, however, is definitely time. I personally do not have the time to go to local tournaments or play the game regularly, so an app I can play at home in my own time is definitely a much better option for myself, and even better, it's a simplified version of competitive. You don't earn prize cards, it's just first to 3 knockouts. Energy cards aren't drawn, they are just earned through each turn, so the games are faster and quicker, which is definitely a good thing for people who struggle with time. Will it satisfy those who properly play the competitive side? Probably not, but it's important to look at the Yu-Gi-Oh model before this. Duel Links came first before Master Duel. Duel Links, like TCG Pocket, portrayed a simplified version of the card game and was a great success. Off that success, Master Duel was eventually born, as was the less successful Cross Duel. Pocket should be a good springboard for Live to either sort out the issues that it faces, or a new app to take centre stage in replacing Live. I think we've struggled for a long time for a game that appeals to the more casual audience of the trading cards of Pokemon. on, because it's naturally quite expensive and can be a time consuming one as well. But for me, I really enjoy what TCG Pocket brings to the table. Pack openings look good, they feel important, and they've started adding some daily content to get me logging into the app regularly in order to gain packs or interact with the game. The battling is simplified to make the games quicker and faster. It's the casual Pokemon fans' casual entry into the trading card games. An important thing to note is that I could give it an 8 out of 10 rating right now, but what it does in the upcoming months is definitely going to define how good the actual game is. I think the most important thing to take away from this is that it should be a platform for bigger and better things in the franchise gaming wise. Some of the positive reactions we've had so far should be a sign that TCG Live needs to fix up, or we need a new game to take over it, because it's a great thing to have an alternative to opening packs for a hobby that can be quite expensive. Pokemon has struggled sometimes in recent years to meet fan expectation, partly down to the fact we have expectations that are very high, and partly down to the execution on the creation side. But this time, it looks like we might be moving in the right direction for the market. Hopefully it gets regular updates, regular content, and most importantly continues moving forward to a better TCG video game, because it's been a long struggle since the early 2000s to reach there, with no content and then games that are liked being replaced by games that are seen to be worse than their predecessors. We've reached a point where we've got a TCG game that knows what it's trying to do and has an identity, but that identity cannot remain stagnant. TCG Pocket could be good, it just needs to build on the initial positive elements in order to be so. Thanks for watching, guys. Okay, it's time to throw it over to my comments. From your initial interactions with TCG Pocket, do you think it's a good game? Are you enjoying it? What's good about it? What needs to improve? I would love to hear your opinions. Make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps out my channel, and make sure to follow me on Twitter for more Pokemon opinions. Bye everyone.